Okay, right. I'm Sudaraka Senewirathne, current community leader of the FOSS Sri Lanka. So happy to see that University of Kelaniya is again engaging with the FOSS Sri Lanka. So with the active community. Okay, so today I will going to speak about the give you a kind of basic introduction to the FOSS and simply FOSS and free and open source software. So I will go through several stages that you should know before starting the FOSS community and before going to contribute to the FOSS, right? So yeah, the first thing I grab some code from the some of the most famous open source codes. So actually the free software is a matter of liability, not the price. So to understand the concept, you should think about free as in free speech, not as a freebie, right? So this is kind of famous code when it's come to the FOSS, because the term of the FOSS, it's like a free and open source software, right? So most of the community members got confused what is the free meaning of the FOSS, because this is the kind of important thing when it's come to FOSS, because you know that some other concept called open source software, but free and open software is kind of different thing, right? So I choose this code because this course emphasizes the philosophical aspect of the FOSS by highlighting the importance of the freedom, right? So in free, as you can see, in free as in speech, right? Like in the freedom, not the kind of a free thing, right? So because when it's come to the free word, so it's mainly the ability to control, the modify and redistribute those softwares rather than focusing on a kind of a price or cost, right? So free thing is not a free and open source, it's a different thing. So I'll explain more about these terms when it's come to the latter part of my presentation, right? So make sure that you should understand the difference between free as in freedom, not as a free in a cost, right? No cost, right? Because when it comes to no cost, also we call free now, but the freedom free is a different thing, right? So because of course means the free and open source software, right? So that means that software is a free of cost, right? Because sometimes you have to pay some kind of amount to pay that thing. So I will more talk about I will give some examples related to that scenario. So it means that in a free and open source, it means open source code for everyone, and you are free to study, free to edit, free to update, free to redistribute. Those kind of things are the free and open source software, right? So just to make sure that you will get the term idea before starting the presentation, because FOSS is a different kind of thing when it's come to the community, right? So make sure that you properly understand that FOSS meaning, FOSS meaning, right? Right. So today content. So today I will talk about these things mainly. So what is FOSS? I will give you some kind of simple introduction to the FOSS thing, and also I will talk about some FOSS history, some things that you need to know, and also why we should use FOSS, because if you come to the FOSS, you should know what are the benefits, right? So I will talk about the why we should use FOSS, and also the difference between the FOSS and open source software, because they are two different terms, and the FOSS in the industry. So how the FOSS is maintaining the industry, and how a FOSS project is earning money from the things, and also how you guys contribute to the FOSS, right? So these are the major things that I'm going to talk. So first let's move for the what is FOSS, right? Okay, so as I previously mentioned, that FOSS simply stands for the free and open source software. So again mention, it's a free as in freedom, right? Not necessarily price, right? So it's a freedom, not a price, because as I previously mentioned, right? So free and open software are usually same, but the motivation is different. So I'll talk about more in the when it comes to go through the presentation, right? So these are two different things. So so that is how the FOSS is identified, like it's free and open source software. Think about free in the freedom, not a price, right? So and also these are the basic terms, right? So before moving to the next thing, so I would like to ask a question from the audience, if possible, that can anyone recognize this person, like this person? When it comes to the FOSS, we should know this guy because he's the one of the major part of the FOSS community. So anyone can recognize this person, so you can unmute the mic and speak out, right? Give his name. Right, let's wait a couple of seconds from the audience.
Research Solomon?
Yeah, right. That is the guy. Yeah, thank you. I think Tarandu, right? Yes, thank you, Tarandu. That is the answer. Yeah. Richard Stallman. So he's the one who started the FOSS community. So let's move to the history of FOSS and talk about that guy, right? So actually, the FOSS starts around 80s century, but when it's come to the 60s and 70s, computers were directly on hardware focus, right? So because at that time the computers are super expensive. Not the manufacturers distributed software free and open source, but you have to buy the computer, right? But when it's come to the today, it's a totally different part now, because we all have the computers and mobile devices, but the softwares are kind of too much expensive when it comes to today situation, right? So because assume that some kind of design software, so they are cost more than the hardware, right? So that is the difference between when it comes to 17th and 60th era. So in 70s, the kind of a middle in the 70s era, so the manufacturer kind of the computer manufacturer stopped distributing source code to the community, because they have to not let to use their computer, use the software. Because assume that this is computer example scenario, not a real scenario. Assume that the Microsoft Windows computers, they release their computers device. So as an example, IBM, they release the computers, right? But they release their software as an open source. So other computers, like other computer vendors, can use that software and make their own software and publish with their computers, right? So to stop that kind of thing in early 70s or kind of thing, late 70s, the manufacturers stopped distributing their source code to with their computers, right? So to make the competition, right? So in order to survive in the computers industry, right? But in 80s century, so the Richard Stallman, the guy I previously showed you, he started the Free Software Movement Foundation and create some kind of community to develop open source software in the community, right? So because in the late 70s, that computer vendors stopped their distributing their code. Because of that reason, Richard Stallman started that free software movement to provide the free open source software to the community, right? And he also founded the GNU project, one of the major project when it comes to the FOSS. So, and you also may heard that the license terms, right? So that is some kind of brief thing, the history. So let's continue it further, right? So as you know that the Linus Torvalds, and also he started the Linux projects. So in first, I think in the late version 1991, under the GPL license, it's GPL license, it's come with the GNU thing. So it's a license that you guys able to connect, edit, modify, use, reuse, and also redistribute with your own version. So that is kind of license with Cabletalk providing the that cable, right? So if you see a GPL license in the kind of software, you can get the code, and also you can update it, modify, and also some kind of do amendments things, and create your own version kind of thing. So as a few example, you know that the Linux distributions such as Ubuntu and Fedora, it has a OpenSUSE and also Debian, those kind of things are the some kind of GPL under softwares they release under GPL license with the Linux project, right? And also when it's come to the FOSS, the Eric Raymond, kind of a software developer, right? It's an American software developer, right? He also published a book called The Cathedral and the Bazaar. In that book, he mentioned that the open source term, the first open source term came under that book, right? So it's a kind of important thing when it's come to free and open source software industry. So that is the first time we saw that open source word in that industry, right? So in the Cathedral Bazaar, you can search in Google, you can find the book. So that is the first where we found the open source term, right? And also one of the major points when it's come to the FOSS, right? So because of the situation, like in the because of Richard Stallman, Linus Torvalds, and Eric Raymond, because of these people with that influence, Netscape, you know, the web browser, right? Netscape, the old browser. So Netscape opened its browser code to the community, right? It's open the code, right? It's source code, right? So because of that reason, the well-known browser Mozilla Firefox, that the when Netscape is open source code, based on that, the Mozilla Foundation has organized, founded the project. So now you guys use the Mozilla Firefox based on that old open source project, right? So that's where the Mozilla project is initiated, right? Based on the Netscape open source code, right? So that is some kind of major points in the FOSS history, right? So next we are going to talk about the why we should use FOSS. So what is the advantages? So those kind of things. So before moving to the that section, like why we should use FOSS, so I would like to have some comments from the audience to actually why we should use free and open source software, because I think most of the today audience is undergraduates, right? So you may have some kind of idea. So what is the FOSS? So why we should use free and open source software? Actually why we should use FOSS, right? So first thing is the availability of open source code and the right to code modification. As I previously mentioned, when it comes to the FOSS tools, you have the source code, and also you will be have the right to edit code, like do the modification, redistribute your things, right? So you can simply download and check the source code of the application. So if you entered some kind of FOSS application, so how that the architecture of their application, if you are interested, so you can go to their repository and download that source code, and you also can refer that thing, you can study it. So you can study that project and you can look into that thing and you can make your own project. So that is the beauty of the FOSS, right? Because normally FOSS projects are developed by the large developers of community. So mostly those projects are well structured, because when it comes to the community, they have a large amount of ideas and large amount thoughts, so they know the they refactor the project well. But when it comes to the paid application, don't think about the large application, right? Think about some tiny application that you need to pay for them. So most of the thing that project will be developed by some kind of 3 to 6 developers, right? So in that case, sometimes that project is not well organized, not well structured. But when it comes to the larger FOSS projects, those projects are well structured. So based on my experience, I have worked on several open source things, so I know that those projects are well structured, right? So as well as you have the right to modify the code and redistribute thing, you can get the source code and you can try that out. You can modify the code, you can modify the response, those kind of things. You can create your own version of that application. So that is the beauty of the FOSS, right? And also you have the alternative and a low-cost software, right? I'll explain these two terms, right? So if you use a FOSS, you can leisurely move from one software to another software without caring about the money or the paid license, right? But if you are using a paid application, you have to pay for the license. So you cannot leisurely move to the next software if you are not familiar with that software. Assume that you purchase Photoshop. It's kind of paid software, cloud version. So you already paid that version to 1 year. But if you are not familiar with that application, you will have to move to another application, right? So at that case, you cannot refund that amount to complete your thing. But assume some tools provide 7 days free application kind of things, but you cannot leisurely move to the next software because you have already paid that tool. So you paid some kind of amount. So if you are moved to next software, you have to pay for both, right? So but when it comes to the FOSS application, you can leisurely move to one software and another software. Like most of the I think most of the students are kind of IT related thing. I know seems like, yeah. So they are most, I think, when some join, suppose most of the students are computer science undergraduates, so IT undergraduates. So you know that you can leisurely go to GitHub and download some projects you can freely move. So if you are not like that tool, so you can just install and go for the GitHub or any kind of resource. You can just find another tool, right? So that is the beauty of the FOSS when it comes to the why we should use part, right? So you have the alternative and also low-cost, right? So so you might wonder what is this low-cost software, because it's a free and open source software. You have the source code. Why you have to pay any kind of amount to use the FOSS software? So you might wonder why is that, right? So as an example, right? So for the low-cost software, right? So you have to pay little amount to software. As an example, like think about some application that you have to pay a little bit amount to download the application. As an example, the one of the example that I found, so it's elementary OS. I think may you have heard that this open source project elementary OS, you have to pay for some kind of little bit amount to get the application, right? So I think you can see my screen right in the elementary OS. So this is the official website. So as you can see, you have to pay a little bit amount to download this elementary OS. You can pay $1 kind of thing and get the OS. You cannot get the device without free, but this is kind of low cost software, right? So you can access their source code as well, right? So this is the kind of separate scenario when it's come to the FOSS, right? So it's a you think that you need to pay a little bit amount to download the software. As you can think that you can download this total application like source code and build from your own, but when it's come to the building a OS from the source code, is kind of hard thing because you need to download all the tool set and also you need to download all the dependencies kind of thing. That's a huge task too, but you can just pay $1 and download that operating system. So that is another part when it's come to the FOSS, right? So that's to make sure that the previously I explained that what is the free in the meaning. It's not the free of cost, right? It's the freedom to edit, redistribute, learn, and those things. That's the free part, not the free of cost. So don't think that all free and open source software are free of cost. Like this software, you have to pay a little bit amount, right? So, but you have the access to source code. So again, main focus the free is the freedom, not the price, right? So make sure that you understand that thing, right? So because most of the people think the free and open software are free, but sometimes it's not that case. You can build the software from the source code, but it's not a free, right? Okay, so the next thing that you will get the free marketing and support for your projects, right? So, okay, so assume that you have developed some kind of tool, right? So you are the only one developer, but you are planning to expand the tool, right? So assume that you are building a media player. Assume that so you are the only user, you are the only developer. But if you think this tool can grow and move to the thing, you can make your project as an open source project or free and open source project with the under license, that license, right? So you will directly get free marketing and support for your project. Assume that if you are a developer, right? So as previously that your project, if your project is open source, you can get a free marketing for your project, and also you can get the support from the open source community. So you can get directly support from the community, and also you can access the large base of developers. So the developers will help you to improve your project. So that kind of benefits you have. And also the other part is that when you go to the industry, right? So as you know, most of the all of the undergraduates should go for the industry at the end, your final year degree. So after that you should move to the industry. So you may put the CV to I have completed this project, I have completed this project, I have completed this project. So you are list down your projects, right, under your CV, right? So if your software is just a tool that you cannot prove to the industry, assume that you are going for an internship, right? So you mention that project in your CV and you are send the CV to the company, and the company will check your CV and go check if you go normally check your CV. So if you are interested, so they are interested, they will call for you. So assume that you are putting your all the projects in GitHub or whatever the free platform like thing. So assume that you are publishing your projects to GitHub, and so you put your project URL repository URL under the CV, right? Assume that you are mentioning your GitHub account ID or your project link in the CV. So leisurely that you can prove that you have worked in these technologies and you have created projects, that kind of thing. That's a plus point when it's come to the internships. So if you are working on the FOSS and you are maintaining your good record on the FOSS, and also you are contributing the FOSS, and also you have a lot of projects in your account, so as you can make it public, right? So recruiters will check on those things, or any kind of interviewer, so who is going to interview you. So he will definitely go for your projects and see the commits and also codes, how you implement that project. So what is the structure of that project, so your knowledge, so you can measure that thing. So that is another advantages. I didn't mention it here, but that is another part of the benefit that you will get if you are interested in FOSS, right? So as well as the quick improvement, a large base of the developers and users, right? So assume that you are that media player project, so you make it an open source, right? So you will get quick improvement because large of developer base, you can access large amount of developers, so they will improve their features, and also they will suggest new features to your product, and all the things can happen. And also you can access the users base, so your QA task will be done by quality assurance testing part will be done by that community. So if they found any kind of bug or defect, they will directly report you through the any kind of portal, right? So normally assume that you are most of familiar with GitHub, so you'll go and see their GitHub project, so you will see number of issues they are looking for. Those kind of things you can access, right? So that is the one of the advantage, so why we should use or why we should engage with the FOSS, right? And also low number of defects, because when it's come to the large amount of users that testing your product, so they will directly report your issues, and because of that you normally get the low defect projects, right? So because they are directly mention issues to the relevant repository, so the other developers will look into that thing, so they will fix that issue. So but when it's come to the paid software, that's a total different scenario. So assume that you found a bug in Windows 10 or 11, you found a bug, so you cannot proceed with that issue. So normally what you guys do is kind of you go to Windows forum or any kind of Microsoft forum, so you just put in the issue that you have found and ask them for help. So at that case, the issue is open in the forum, so one of the moderator of one of the admin of that forum should reply to you that, and if they also can replicate that same issue, they will report that issue to relevant manager or department or any kind of team. So in that team, the relevant person should create a ticket for that bug, and also it should pass it to the developers, right? So that developer will work on that issue and commit the changes, and you cannot get those changes directly, right? Because you need to wait for the next release of the Windows, right? So that is the one of the kind of a large process. But when it's come to the FOSS products, like FOSS projects, you can directly report that issue to the directly to the developers, not any kind of manager, any kind of support team, any kind of maintenance team, not that thing. You can directly contact the developers. And also because of the large developers, you may see some kind of other developers see that bug quickly without any support team, right? So they will immediately fix it and push the changes to the repository. So you can download that because you have access to this open source. You can access the source code now, so you can update your source code and rebuild the project, right? So you can get the bug-free software. So that is the one of the advantages. So that's why you should move for the FOSS application, right? So these are the more common things. But when it's come to the undergraduates, it's better you guys can use open source software without going for any cracked versions, or if you have money you can pay it and get it, but don't you go use for the cracked versions of the application, because as you know, with the community, you know that wide spread of the ransomware, those kinds will lost your data. So because of that reason, make sure that if you are using an application, don't go for the cracked version. Try to use some kind of alternative in the FOSS community, right? So that is the thing that why should use FOSS. I think hope you get some kind of little idea of why you should use FOSS, right? Okay, so next I will talk about the differentiate between the FOSS and open source software, right? So some of the community members get confused. So what is the FOSS? So what is the FOSS? Are they same thing, right? So that's kind of issue question that I get from some other session. So that's why I make this slide. What is the difference between free and open source software and the open source software, right? Okay, so Right. So FOSS actually emphasize the freedom that you can use to study. You can use or study, modify, redistribute software, as I previously mentioned. It's the freedom, right? Not the price, right? It's a freedom. You have the freedom to use, edit, modify, and redistribute, and also you can study those applications, right thing. But open source is the emphasis of the transparency of the collaboration that involved in its development, right? So open source is a totally different thing. It is the transparency and collaboration. So you can see the code, you can see the development transparency. You can go to the relevant project and see the commits and do the collaboration. But free and open source software is a totally different thing. You have to right to use, study, and modify, redistribute. But sometimes open source projects are not allow you to redistribute that tool. You can modify it, you cannot redistribute, you cannot modify and redistribute that software, but you have the access to source code, you have the transparency of the development. So that's a two different thing, the FOSS and open source, right? It's open source kind of a development strategy that we are show the transparency of and the collaboration, right? So I will explain more about these things, right? Okay, let's see the differences between the FOSS and the open source, right? So actually FOSS is an umbrella term, like what we call, it's a kind of a combined term for the free software and open source software, right? So as well as the freedom for users. Actually users have the freedom, they can, as I previously repeat again, so it's a freedom for the user. And also you have the free software license, right? You don't have to pay for these things, you have the free software license. And also you can because you have that term freedom on your software, you have the ultimate license to do any kind of amendments to that existing code base, right? And also these thing projects developed by community or single organization, right? Most of the things, as you can see, some large organization develop these projects, like the Linux projects, and also in the community, those kind of things, they are do the development of these first projects, right? Because also the source code is publicly available, so you can go to their repository and you can refer those projects and you can alter these things. But when it's come to the open source, it's a different thing. It's a development methodology, because that methodology is that transparency and the collaboration for the development. And also it may offer the open source license. Sometimes most of the time collaboration of the other developers, like it's similar, because you have the access to source code, they are developing their things, so more collaboration of the developers, they will push the changes to the relevant projects, right? Source code is typically publicly available, because now most of the times open source softwares, the source code is available, so you can get that source code, the complete source code of the software, and do the changes, right? So hope you can understand the difference between FOSS and open source tools, right? FOSS is that you have the freedom, but open source is the development tactic that make the transparency of the development as well as the collaboration, right? Okay, so yeah, right. So next I will give you some example of one of the famous FOSS projects, like Linux kernel, Apache web server, and also OpenJDK. You know that OpenJDK is some kind of alternative for Java. So that's all the TensorFlow, and also one of the most used framework language called PHP, and also the Mozilla Firefox, and open source kind of operating system, and Moodle. You know that Moodle is a kind of a tool that most of the institute use for academic things. So maybe your university academic portal also depend on the Moodle, right? So those are the several major FOSS projects. So like thing. So these are the things I listed out. So are there any other FOSS software that you know? So not mention here. If you can give me some example, like unmute your mic, and if you know some other famous FOSS projects, you can mention here. So any things from the audience? Anything to add here? You can just unmute the mic and give me some example. Like I think other people can also get understand, right?
LangChain is currently popular.
All right.
It's like a AI tool.
All right, AI tool, right? Yeah. Thank you. So any other tools? Sometimes you might work on those things, and sometimes you contributed to those projects. So any thoughts? Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you, audience, for the answer. So yeah, there are thousands of open source projects. So these are some kind of famous projects, right? You can Google or you can go to GitHub literally and find those projects and contribute the projects that you like. Okay, so these are the things, one of the things. So I'll quickly go through the slide because of the less time. So I'll talk about some kind of important thing when it comes to the FOSS in the industry. So actually the Linux, the one of the famous projects, represent more than 38% of the overall server share market. So that's a huge thing for the FOSS industry because those market share will support the other projects as well as the Red Hat open system was acquired by the IBM for 34 billion. That is one of the huge purchase when it comes to FOSS projects because it's a FOSS project. And also many of open source projects, especially the enterprise sector projects, they provide the support and the documentation or those things for kind of price, but the source code is free if you are, because those developers are specialized in that project, so they know the project well. So if any other company need the kind of expert in that area, they can purchase the developers or get the support from that organization, right? That is how the business model is developed in the FOSS industry. So if you are good and if you are developing a good project, you can make it open source and give the support for kind of a price, right? So as an example, some kind of open source project like Disclose and WordPress, they provide their hosted instance for premium price because you can download the software free and you can host it your own servers, but they may offer also some hosted instance for the premium fee, as well as the one of the major thing in the FOSS industry, you can have the donation to your project. So as you can see, you can simply go for the example for the GitHub, you can see that donation part. So you can donate those projects, right? So that is the huge thing. So if you are a developer, full-time FOSS developer, you can use one of these things to make an income, right? So I know several developers personally, so they are totally depend for open source developers, they are dependent on their projects, right? So that is the one of the beauty thing, as if you are kind of a permanent software developer, so you can do some FOSS projects and you can earn a side income, so you can do that things as well, right? So that is some kind of simple example how the FOSS is maintaining in the industry. So large companies make their source code open source because they have the access to the community, and so they can quickly develop and fix those bugs from the support of the community. So they are just providing their support or any kind of hosted instance for some kind of money, right? So that's the business strategy of the for kind of FOSS projects, right? Okay, so I'll talk about those the FOSS history, FOSS what is the difference between FOSS and FOSS thing, why you should use FOSS, and also the FOSS industry. Next part is why do you people to contribute, right? So why you guys need to contribute to the FOSS projects, right? Actually, one of the major thing is the gain programming experience, because almost especially for this domain, so undergraduates, you are going for the industry, right? So going for the industry, and you should go for kind of internship. So if you are having a good experience, like a good programming experience, before moving to the internship or any kind of associate level developer position, it's a really advantage because you know how to do the project, how to do the collaboration, how to structure or architect a project, right? So that experience is really necessary when it comes to the industry, right? So you can quickly go for the kind of next levels, so you can quickly improve your knowledge because you already know how to collaborate to projects, you know how to fix a bug, how to debug those issues, how to identify issues, and how to collaborate with other developers, how to communicate those things, how to publish any kind of projects, so how to maintain the documentation, how to maintain the developer documentation, those kinds. So you have that experience. So when you are land into the industry, those experience will be valuable, and also your company will recognize your experience, right? So that is the one of the major things you should contribute to the FOSS, because you can get that experience from the, because no one give you projects. No, assume that some kind of large community doesn't give any kind of project to you guys to develop. But when it comes to FOSS, you can leisurely go to those free projects and download the code and understanding and go for their issues and try to fix a bug, right? So that experience will be valuable when it comes to industry. So that is the one thing you should contribute to the code, because you can get the programming experience and also build a practical resume. So as I previously told you that, guys, when it comes to industry, it's a really advantage you have a practical resume, not to just mention any kind of projects that you have done. I have done this project, I have done this project. If you're having a practical resume, you can refer that projects in the resume. That will really advantage, right? So you can achieve that thing by contributing the FOSS projects, or you can create your own FOSS project, right? So that is the really advantage. So you can build a practical resume rather than just mentioning the projects you have done. So that is the one of the major advantage, I think, for the undergraduates, because these are the two things that you will get a proper things from the FOSS, right? So try to contribute to the FOSS and gain more programming experience before moving to the internship, any type of industry, and also try to build a practical resume rather than doing just in search of project names, right? So you can show off the relevant company or the relevant internship that you have done those things, and these are my experience kind of things, all right? And also using products, because if you are using a product, so because you can contribute the things. Assume that you have kind of using a product and also you have identified several issues, so you can just report that thing to the that project maintainers, so they will give a quick fix. So you are kind of using a product, so you can use that thing, right? So and also you can promote open source culture. So you can promote the open source culture with the others, right? So because assume that you are using a good open source tool, right? So assume, let's just go for this Elementroids. So you are, this open system is looking nice, so you can spread the word with other your community and try to these Elementroids that is really cool and really useful. So those kind of you can promote the open source culture, right? And also give back the community, because as well as things simply, if you are using any kind of open source projects, try to give the back to the community. So you can try support the documentation, localizations. Localization means that you can translate the project. Assume that this one project VLC media player, right? So you can go to their repository and support their Sinhala localization or Tamil localization, right? So that's thing you can do for the community, right? So give back the community. And also you can spread the awareness, and also you can make simple donations, right? So if you are using some projects for your day-to-day life or any kind of project, so you can give back some kind of donation to that community, right? So and also have fun. Assume that you are in the FOSS club, right? So you can create clubs, societies, development communities. You can make events to share your thoughts. You can create hackathons and also enjoy the discussions, those kind of things. You can do these things to contribute to the FOSS, right? So these are the things, and why should people contribute to the open source? Those are simple things. So try to do these things, and when you are in the undergraduate level, because you might get some enough time to do those things, and also you can get a good experience, good exposed to the industry before moving to that thing. So that is the one more thing, right? So hope you understand these concepts and these things. So actually we are FOSS Sri Lanka, and I'm happy to, as I previously mentioned, I'm happy to see the University of Kelaniya is again engaging with the FOSS Sri Lanka community. And these are some of our domains, so websites that you can leisurely go to there. So you can visit our GitHub organization part, so you can see what are the projects available to you guys for the development. And also we have a plan to engage with the university communities to develop some kind of projects in the next year. So we have we are drafting plans at the moment. So hope the University of Kelaniya will join with us to develop those projects and develop the community and also support the community. So I will share those details with your community lead. And And yeah, that's end of my presentation. Hope you can get idea from what is the FOSS and those things. And yeah, thank you guys for the today's session. So I think back to Dani, right?
Next on our agenda, we have Ms. Chethana Wikrama Arachchi, the community leading Women in FOSS LK, who will guide us through the Women in FOSS initiative.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so it's happy to see that FOSS enthusiastic people gather around here to say hello to FOSS. So I want to thank the FOSS community of University of Kelaniya for having me here. Okay, let's start. Let me share my screen. Yes, I think you can see my screen now. Yeah, so today I'm here to talk about this topic that in the screen. So simply it says I'm here to inspire and motivate all the female undergraduates in the field of IT. So this is me, Chethana Wikrama Arachchi, the community lead and a software engineer. Moving on to start what I have ready for you. So I'm not going to talk about these FOSS or the free and officers or this concept or the projects. So let's start with why do we need women's community? So we have for Sri Lanka. So why do we need another separate one for females? So I'm going to give you 1 minute for just close your eyes and picture a software engineer, a person working in front of a computer with there are monitors and maybe wearing a headphone. I ask picture a software engineer. Okay, so if I ask how many of you have pictured that software engineer as a female, maybe you can picture me, the Chethana Akka is in front of a computer. So I know that you're not going to raise hands. So the very few number of people, maybe no one has pictured that software engineer as a female. Most of you have imagined a male software engineer. So what do you think the reason for that? So from the very beginning, from our childhood, we started to believe that this technology, the tech, is for males, for the guys. The tech savvy are guys. Coding is not for us. With that, so to prove that point, I have some numbers ready for you. So the 20% of Sri Lankan university student, only 20%, the female student, only majoring the computer science. The rest will be do the other stuff. So the numbers are a little bit old now. Maybe I think that there's a positive improvement in these numbers. So, but for now, it's the really low as 20%. So from that 20%, the 38 will be the only going to the industry as to do software engineering or any kind of IT related. So you may think like 38 and 57 is not like 100, the summing of not 100. So like that, what not I meant here. So it's from that 20%, only 38 will be joining industry as the by doing IT related job. So rest will be do maybe the banking or any other related job. So for the boys, it's 57. It's quite a good number comparatively for the female number. So I have like global stat with me. So this is the women representation in big tech companies. The numbers also in 2021. So you can see this is little bit good. We can say it's good, but it's not even near to the 50%. Like in the Amazon, there's a quite good number, but still their numbers are really low. So you may think, so what? So the boys will do all these coding and stuff. So what? So we don't mind. So what's your problem to talk this here? Okay, let's see what these IT people do. These IT people do. They gave a solution for the problem that we have. So it may be a service or the products. It is some sort of a solution for the problem that we have. If you think that all the requirement gathering to development and the testing, all the things are done by male, the world population, 50% will be female. So if the product will be good enough to use by all of the people in the world. So that's the thing you have to think here. So I'm coming to the main topic here. So why do we need women communities? So we need women communities to encourage, maybe to improve their skills, to improve their knowledge in order to adapt with these tech in the field of tech, or to do well in this field of tech. With that, I'm coming to our main topic. What is Women in FOSS? So it's Women in FOSS is of course it's sub-community of for Sri Lanka, and the goal is like having a goal like cultivating passion for IT for the female students, providing the encouragement and the resources needed to thrive in the dynamic field. So that's what we have in written. So simply, we encourage female students, female undergraduates, or the females individuals to do well in the field of IT. So we have established in 2020 October. So we have now 3 years of anniversary, and in the very beginning we have very few number of universities, or the SLIT, NSBM, OLS, IIT, and Rajarata in the very beginning, and later on the ICBT Kandy campus also have joined with us. So I believe so for my next session there will be another university I can add here. We hope that will be the University of Kelaniya. Now with that, so I have in the these are basically the main flagship event of the Women in FOSS Sri Lanka. So actually there are a lot of events collaboratively happening with the FOSS Sri Lanka, as well as in the campus clubs. The previously mentioned campus clubs, they are doing a lot of event throughout the year. So these two are mainly organized by Women in FOSS Sri Lanka. So the Sri Lanka IT is a competition for poster design and the article writing competition. We organize this in the season of the Women's Day, and the talk around is for the session that is for the help individuals to do well in the researchers. So that's from the what we have done and our events. So why should you be a part of this community? So it's common to all the other volunteers as well. So like you get to know a lot of people from this. Like we have a huge community here, so still there are a lot of tech experts, maybe the professors. We can have a lot of tech and lot of volunteers. You can meet a lot of friends from different universities, and with that you have get to know a lot of people and networking opportunities with them, and the career advancement. So yes, this you can add these to CVs when you going to the interviews for your internship, maybe for the job. So that will be a really value addition and knowledge sharing. So as I mentioned, we have the experts in the field, so we can contact the Sudaraka or myself or any other community member for if you want to know about something, maybe about these FOSS-related softwares and all the projects. And yes, finally, the most important one is the skill development. So for the past year, so I started my volunteering as the first year member. So with that, so for now I'm finished my degree, so I have improved myself with this a lot. So the most important thing you can get this is skill development. You can improve your personality and the communication skills. After all, it's fun, so you get to know a lot of people with the same field, same mentality, so we can have fun with them, can gossip with them. So that's what simply you can get from these communities. And Sudaraka mentioned that you can contribute to the FOSS community as well to improve the create an open source global community. So that's what I have ready for you guys. Thank you and happy volunteering. So if you have any question, you can reach me out or you can ask now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chethana, for sharing your thoughts with us. Following this enlightening presentation, we'll now transition to a Q&A session. To continue with that, I'll be passing the mic to Pawan. Feel free to pose your questions on the points covered by our speakers or other FOSS-related topics. You can use the provided link to submit your questions or type them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask directly. Over to you, Pawan.
Yeah, thank you, Dani. So let's move into some Q&A sessions, and there are some questions asked by our audience. So let's move on to each question. The first question is, it's kind of related to women in FOSS. So she asked, what are some entry points for women interested in getting involved in FOSS, especially for those who may be beginners?
So it's not like you don't need to be a female to contribute in these the open source projects that Sudaraka mentioned earlier. So I think it just doesn't matter the gender what you are. So you can like start from anywhere as the beginner. It doesn't matter what your gender is.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Another question is there. It's also related to women in FOSS. So how can we foster a more inclusive and welcoming environment for women in FOSS, ensuring their perspectives are valued and respected? Yeah, actually, she's asking for how the reputed and how the value that gained by women. When she engaging with the FOSS.
Yeah, the reputation you get from this FOSS community, joining by FOSS community, it's just normal as the another volunteering journey. So you get a lot of chances to meet new people, as I mentioned earlier. So even you can add the FOSS community is not something like the one is the professional organization and the professional community. So you can clearly add into your CVs, and that will definitely add your that will be your as a value addition to your personality. And yeah, that's it. So
yeah, thank you. So there's another question. So it asking, when we are engaging with the open source community, we saw a lot of kind of a license to their projects. So can you briefly tell us what are those licenses and how we have to deal with them?
I think when it's come to the projects, that you might see the license, right? There are different type of license. So assume that if you are going for a project, you can clearly see that the license that defined by the project. So if you assume that you are go for a GitHub project, that some famous projects, you will see what is the license they are using. So you can click it and there all the license agreement is defined there. So there are multiple license, like I previously mentioned that GNU license. It's one of the important license when it's come to the free and open source software, because GNU license provide you the capability of modifying the code, redistribute code, and study the code, those things, right? There are some other license like Apache, variable MIT license. Those are licenses, they have different shade between those things. Some license provide you to use only. Assume that you are working in a large company, so you need to use that open source project. So you can go and check their project license, whether they are allowed to do the commercial level developments, right? So most of the industry, they are try to use open source projects because it's a cost free, so you don't need to pay any kind of amount to your dependencies, right? So you can leisurely go to their things. So check the license. So there are different kind of license. So you can use those license like MIT, Apache, GNU, and those are some common license. There are other license that you need to pay for those things, right? So I think it's better you can Google it and find those license types. And it's a really good thing to understand license before moving to the products, because assume that if you are using any kind of library or dependency without considering their license type. So if you go for commercial development, sometimes that company will sue you, right? You will have to face a lawsuit due to that reason. So make sure that you check the license types before moving to any kind of development, right? So you can directly see those projects mention what type of license they are using. So make note on that. Yeah, that's a good question, because when it comes to open source, licenses are really important thing. Yes.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for your valuable response to that question. And finally, there's another one question. So it's asking, how can individuals and organizations get involved with the FOSS LK?
For the individuals, I think you can, if you are part of a university, if there is a kind of a community, like assume that you are in the University of Kelaniya. So if you are a student or undergraduate from your university, you can directly contact your community. So like in the University of Kelaniya FOSS community, you can directly contact with your community lead, and you can get those FOSS community members numbers or any kind of contact point from your community lead, and you can directly join with the FOSS Sri Lanka, as well as you can put a chat to our social media pages. I think Women in FOSS page or FOSS Sri Lanka page, you can put a chat there, and our page moderators will reply you, and you can directly contact the community parties from there, co-members from the Women in FOSS or FOSS Sri Lanka. So you can join with us.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sudaraka. And because of this time constraint, so that's all the questions for today. So I'm passing here to Udani.
A big thank you to everyone for your engaged questions. We appreciate your curiosity and participation. As time permits, we have addressed the questions to the best of our ability. If there are any remaining inquiries, please feel free to share them, and we'll do our best to respond. As we conclude today's event, let's extend our heartfelt appreciation to our esteemed speakers for generously sharing their knowledge and experiences. A sincere thanks to all the participants for being part of this occasion. Before we bid farewell, remember to stay connected with the vibrant FOSS community at the University of Kelaniya. Follow us on social media and engage in our forums. Thank you everyone for being an integral part of Hello FOSS 2023. We eagerly anticipate the pleasure of seeing you again soon. Have a good night.